Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Do you ever feel like you're doing the journey alone? Have you ever felt like that you just need someone to talk to, someone who could bring some perspective into your world? Or maybe you're not the type of person who learns from watching video courses or reading books, and you just want to talk with someone specifically about your challenges and how to break through them. I want to introduce you to the High Performance Men's Coaching Program. It's an intensive coaching experience designed to unlock a man's full potential in his life, business, and relationships. Over this past year, I've brought together and trained some of the best coaches in the world to help men step up, stop playing small, and become the strongest versions of themselves. Learn more about High Performance Men's Coaching at kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. You are not alone, and we are here to cut through the crap, hold you accountable, and challenge you so that you can make your dreams become a reality. Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Jennifer Noel Taylor. She's the CEO of Quantum Touch and the author of her new book here, Love Incorporated, The Business of Doing What You Love. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I know. We were just chatting a second ago, and you're in Maui, just living the dream.
I'm on the North Shore of Maui. It's absolutely beautiful.
And you've been there.
I love it.
You've been there a few years now?
The second time around, I've been here 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, wow. And so we'll dive in with your story and all, because I think that's just because you were doing the corporate thing. And so to be living out in Maui and really living what your book is about, you know, the business of doing what you love, that's incredible.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so blessed because once I got into my true calling in life, it's been really fun because it's not even a job anymore.
Yeah, we'll dive in the whole topic of this episode here, the business of doing what you love. But before we dive in, Jennifer, we start off every show with some sort of saying or maybe a favorite success quote from the guest, something that's helped them on their journey. What do you got for us and why did you choose that?
You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance doing what you love. And this quote really applies to me because I've failed at what I don't want.
What did that look like? Failing at what you don't want? Was that a job? Was that a relationship?
So when I was in junior high, I remember this conversation with my dad. I had wanted to go into medicine, and my dad said, well, if you go into medicine, you could possibly kill somebody, make a mistake and kill somebody or hurt somebody for life. But if you work with things, you don't have that at risk. And I really took that to heart, and I went into computer science instead of medicine. And when I got out of school and got my job, I had realized the immensity of my mistake because although I was good at computer science, I hated my job. And I was bored and depressed and feeling like I came into the world to do something, but I wasn't really doing it. And just, you know, it was 8 a.m. when you start your job and you just are looking at watching the clock minute by minute tick by like you're in a prison cell. I mean, that's how I felt.
What was it like Sunday evening at around like 6 o'clock when the weekend is officially kind of over? And then what was it like? And how long was this going on for?
Let's see. The 6 o'clock Sunday is the worst time ever when you hate your job because you know the weekend's over and you only have a few more hours of freedom till you go back to your prison sentence. That's really how I felt. And yeah, it was completely miserable.
How long was this going on for?
Let's see, maybe about 5 years.
Okay.
Till I woke up. Yeah.
Okay. Till you woke up. I like that saying there. Mm-hmm. Now, how long until you knew that you were going into this quote unquote prison sentence? Like, did it happen and then you quit, or did it happen and you put up with it for a while because you were kind of like, well, what do I do here? I mean, you're probably getting paid well. You studied computer science. Talk about some of those things.
Well, 10 years ago, I was making, actually 15 years ago, I was making 72,000 a year. That was a lot
Yeah, 15
for
years
a
ago.
person, right? Yeah,
Right,
15 years
Still
ago, right?
still is a good amount right now.
Still is good now, but back then that was
Right.
awesome.
What would that be compared? Would that be like 150 or would that be double or triple?
Yeah, maybe over 100K a year.
Yeah, okay.
Which is pretty good to sit there in an office and geek out,
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it was a great salary.
How soon until you realized that this wasn't going to be it?
Halfway through my degree. And the hard part about that is I really didn't have the money to make a change. So it was mostly fear-based, saying, well, if I quit my job or I go into something different in the middle of my degree, how do I save face with my parents?
Right.
I don't have security. Quitting your job, there's no security. I mean, you no longer have a paycheck. I mean, what do you do there?
Right.
And, I felt one of my things was also safety. So I was making decisions based on, I don't want to hurt other people, safety.
Right.
I need a steady paycheck because I like to eat and have a house over my head, security. And that kept me in the job a lot longer than I should have been.
What was the tipping point now from when you don't like the situation? I myself can relate. I had a job that previously, before I do this work, that I would go to work, I would regret the day. The Sunday at 6 o'clock, that's how I knew that. I could share that with you. I can instantly kind of relate with your challenge here. Now, what was the aha moment? What was the tipping point for you to when you started to make some moves?
Actually, I think I had 2 aha moments.
Okay.
The first one is, I don't know if you experienced this, you hit a level of depression where you'd almost rather be dead than go to work.
Okay. I wanted to throw the computer out the window at one point, but I think we're on the same page here.
You're like, what is my life for? You hit that where you're almost willing to do, if you're willing to maybe end your life, for example, you're willing to do anything else. Because it's like, at that point, what do you have to lose, right?
Right.
That was one of my thought processes.
This was a real decision or this was a real thought that came through your mind.
It was a real thought process. I'm like, well, if I'm going to off myself because I hate my job, well, I might as well try something else first, because I at this point, I have nothing to lose. I mean, I really got to that place emotionally. And the other aha moment was outside of work. I started pursuing what I did love, which turned into massage school, because I wanted to work with people. And at that point, massage school was my replacement for medical school, but I was still learning anatomy and working with people. And I got into massage school and I had another aha moment working on people. So I started to be able to feel energy coming off of people. And I know it's really weird and it's unusual, but I could actually feel, if I had my hand above a person, feel this almost field of energy. It was palatable. And I'm like, what is this? It was really weird. And I could almost see like lights coming off my hand. And that was my other aha moment, because I realized we are primarily energy. Our body and our life is a reflection of who we are as eternal beings. It just dawned on me that there was so much more going on than what we thought, or what I thought.
It sounds like to me you're describing the Force.
The Force. Yes.
Star Wars.
The Force.
You're talking about lights and things coming out of you. No, I understand. I'm only playing with this, but so you're really diving into something that it sounds like to me you're calling.
Yeah, I got that feeling and understanding that there's a whole, what I call the other side. There's our whole spiritual energy that makes us, that's beyond who we are in this physical world. And when I downloaded that, I realized that not only is this energy, as they say, the Force, it can be used for evil or it can be used for good. And the good that I was interested in was healing.
And so you're doing this part-time now. You still have the job when you're really starting to discover this newfound calling. Is that right?
Yeah, I started to discover the calling and realized that energy medicine was my life work. I was still doing my job. And as I discovered this, I'm like, well, that's really interesting, but there's no way anyone could ever make a living doing energy medicine. It's so weird. Nobody believes in it. And also, how do you get paid doing it?
Right.
Like
Right.
the money I like to get paid, at least. I mean, I could probably make a few $100 doing sessions, but making 70 or more per year, it just seemed completely crazy.
Yeah. So what were some of the thoughts going through your mind when you were wrestling with this idea of, hey, I have found something that I know I'm really interested in, and this could be my calling here. This is something I want to do with my life. However, I have a life to live. Let's come back to reality here. Like, I have bills to pay, and this is the society we live in where I need to bring in an income in order to live.
Yeah, well, once I discovered my true calling, combined with that feeling of I'm willing to do anything because I have nothing to lose, a series of magical things started to happen. And again, this may seem really off the wall, but I think that the universe, when you decide, all right, I'm open to this, I'm open to doing something different, I really feel enthusiastic about it, the universe meets you halfway. It's what I call the global system. It's like a universal GPS that says, all right, we're going to line things up for you to help you go on your path. You're open to it. Here's the path to follow. And it can be really scary because normally you may just know the next step. You may not see how it all plays out to the end. But if you're willing to take that leap of faith and be a bit open to your calling, I feel like the universe has your back on some level.
Yeah. And what I see in your situation is that you got a computer science degree, you've got 5 years experience with a company. And so what's really the worst that could happen if you did quit your job? You've still got the skill and the experience. You could go back if you, hopefully, I know where the story goes, but, was that in your mind too? I think some may feel that like, oh, if I quit and how am I going to pay the bills? Like, it's just going to be, you're just going to die if this doesn't work out. But you could always go back. And
you can always go back.
We don't want to go back, but that hopefully that doesn't have to happen. But at least you tried.
At least you tried. You can, and that's why I say I failed at what I don't want, because I feel like I failed at computer science in the way that I was never happy at that job.
Okay.
And I feel like when you're unfulfilled at your job, in some sense, at least for me, I felt like I failed because I'm unhappy.
Right.
And yet you can always go back. But even if you do go back, here's another thing. There is no thing as security anymore. I mean, even if you do go back and do that job that you hate, you can still be fired.
Right.
Or
absolutely.
laid off.
Back to your quote with Jim Carrey. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well try the thing that you do want, because if you get it, I mean, you want it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And your heart's more into it, so you're more likely to succeed.
Yeah. I think too, could be interesting for some companies is they might actually like or prefer the person who took a break and tried something new and then came back. Not that this is the direction of where we want to go, but I think that it's not like, I think some people might view it as it's bad. Like, oh, you left. I mean, now who's going to want to hire me? But I think you could look at it with, hey, I'm taking a bet on myself here. I don't think HR managers would be completely against you doing something that you're passionate about for a little bit.
I don't think so. I think
we're all human here.
You're all human. And
I think we want to support people doing what matters to them.
Yeah. Even if, as now that I'm the boss, my own HR manager, ideally you'd like to find employees who feel compelled to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had their own life experience and now they're passionate. And sometimes employees have more passion if they've already tried to do something on their own and then they realize that this is where they really want to be.
Right.
Or that you come back with a new perspective. And I think that a more mature perspective. And I think employers may look upon that very kindly, because I know I would.
Yes. Yes. And so just why I bring that up is just to reduce the fear of, if I leave, then I'm alone and no one will want to hire me again because of this bad thing I did. But I think it's all win-win. To take the bet on yourself, I think it's win-win for you if you get what you want, or potentially if you have to come back to another job. Maybe you learn some invaluable skills and now you can actually get a job that maybe you enjoy more.
Yeah. As let's say you go off and you're an entrepreneur and you learn all the facets of doing business, from accounting to everything involved, customer service, and working with people and coaching skills and everything you need to do a business. For example, if you bring that back to an employer, that's amazing because now you have a broad spectrum of experience you can bring back to a company if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Let's talk a bit about now. So we've really reduced that fear for those listening who are like, oh, I would love to quit, but and then we talked about how it could actually be a benefit and that it's win-win. But coming back to yourself now, what happened next? And let's, the finances, what was the path that led you to where you are now?
So this is what happened next. As I said, there was a series of what I call magical synchronicities that started to unfold as I got involved with energy medicine. The first one was I met my current business partner. His name's Richard Gordon, and he's the founder of Quantum Touch, and I'm the CEO. And I met him, and I had this feeling that we were supposed to work together. And also that we were supposed to be in each other's lives. And it was a very strong feeling. And so I just followed that. And I ended up, moving in with him. Actually, I was living in Maui at the time, writing software. And I ended up not really knowing what I was doing, but just following what my heart was saying. And we moved in together. And we discovered that we weren't really good romantic partners, but we were great business partners. So after I moved in, the current CEO of Quantum Touch called me and said, well, the company's failing. I need to get a real job. Do you want to take over? So that was the next magical synchronicity, was that position just opened up. And I said, sure. Little did I know what I was getting myself into because I adopted a company that was really, really struggling. And I had no business experience, no QuickBooks experience, no customer service experience. I'd been behind a computer.
Right.
Basically, I didn't know what I was doing. So I got in there and I felt really guided. Each step came one by one. I ended up starting an online store in our company, for example, and then we got our first international order. And now we're in about 50 countries around the world. So things just kind of unfolded. We struggled for money. That whole thing, do what you love and the money will come.
Yeah, doesn't work.
It didn't necessarily happen.
It didn't work. It didn't work for me either. I just struggled for a long time. But yeah, no, I know that saying. Yeah, I thought it was true too.
I thought it was true, and blessed people who say that, but I don't think it's really true. The universe does have your back, but it doesn't mean it's going to do all the work for you. That's the big myth that I think I also learned, was that at first I was mad. I'm like, wait a minute. I took this risk. I quit my job. Why are we struggling? And realized that, like anything else, the universe will support you, but you still have to work for it. You still have to balance the money. You still have to do the work. You can't just sit back and say, all right, I'm on a beach. Just let the business run itself.
Yeah,
that doesn't work too well.
So they say.
Yeah.
The difference between, and I think relative to your situation, is that I struggled my first year and a half or so. Was absolutely broke. And the difference in the struggle, because I had a job that I didn't like, was I accepted the struggle and I was willing to take on the struggle. And I was okay with the struggle because it was worth it for me. Like, I knew that this was something worthwhile. And that when I was at my other job, I did not feel the same way. I did not feel that like I wanted this struggle. Like, yes, like I'm willing to go through this struggle because like there's this thing I want at the end, which was like a promotion, but that's not something that I really wanted. It just meant more responsibility and less personal life, really. But that's my saying on that I wanted the struggle because it was my thing.
I hear you. I agree. When your heart's into something, it's okay. If you look at all the entrepreneurs and even Starbucks and Apple Computer, they all had that period of time where it was a struggle. They had to do the impossible to get their business to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even still today, we look at a lot of companies that are likely these social apps that we all know of and use today. And we think of them as these ultra successful CEOs. But if you really look at their financials, they're not turning a profit. And it's important to put that into perspective when it's like, yes, they are worth that much, but they are still struggling too. They have not yet discovered how to turn a profit, and they are worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. And that's a lot of money, but they're not making money. And that's an important thing to understand, that even at the highest level, they struggle just like any other startup type of company.
At any level, I feel like your business is going to go in cycles. And for me, the biggest learning edge is how do you manage the cycles? Because every business has maybe a period where sales drop off, or a period where you have some new expense or a lawsuit or something that makes your expenses rise above your revenue. And it's not necessarily being okay, but it's how do you manage the ebb and flow of business, just like the ebb and flow of life? What is your tool set to manage that? And I think that's what I've learned, is to accept the fact that just when you think you have it all together, something may happen. And that's part of it. That's part of the fun.
It's part of the fun.
So,
yeah.
part of the fun.
It's a part of the journey. Absolutely. Let's talk about your book here, The Love Incorporated, The Business of Doing What You Love. You have these 4 powerful insights that I'd love for the audience to hear.
So the first one is we're spiritual beings and having a human experience. And this was what I discovered in massage school, is that there's what I call the matrix. Actually, before we see the reality, there's the whole imprint of the reality behind the scenes. And I know that's just way out there, but it really means that based on your level of consciousness, your thoughts, what's going on in your heart, you actually generate what's in front of you. Your eyes are actually projectors. They don't actually see the reality in itself. They see what your projection is. So in one hand, it's out there, I know, but on the other hand, it's a shortcut, because if you can change your perception of things, it'll actually start to change your outside experience. And that's what I feel like a lot of the people who are worth millions, they've learned how to shift their perspective and shift their patterning to bring in that money, to bring in their wealth. And I feel like that's one of the most powerful insights, is to discover who you are as an energetic being. So that's insight number 1. The second one is follow your heart always. And I make that case for always because when you're doing business, you have to make a lot of decisions. And sometimes you have a lot of outside influences, like people telling you what to do, or books, or your employees, or your business partner, or your board of directors, or whatever it is. And sometimes what people are telling you to do, or sometimes the outside influences, may be opposite of what your gut and your heart are saying. Sometimes the traditional business methods may be opposite of what your heart and your gut are saying. And the times where I actually listened to outside influences and tried to follow other people's advice is the times where I actually failed. And the times where I'm like, nope, this is my truth, I'm sticking to my truth, that's when I actually succeeded. So just to be really mindful of really trusting your own inner guidance.
I like that.
Insight number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
Really important. And number 3. Okay. So challenges are an opportunity for growth. This is a way that I've used to reframe the inevitable challenges that come when you're running a business. You're always going to run into things. So let me give you an example. You have a meeting with all your employees and there's people they're fighting, differing of opinions. You have the pressure of deadlines, everyone having a different idea of how something should happen. And it's turning into an all and out battle. I've had these. And there's 2 ways to face this kind of thing. One is to continue the battle and continue the argumentation, not get people's buy-in, and try to run a company, and good luck to you, because that rarely works. The second is to take all of the ideas and use this challenge as an opportunity to create a new way of doing business. And when I've reframed the difficulties into, well, how can I grow from this and actually develop the business? It's when things actually shifted around to make us more profitable. Another example, I used to have a physical office, and when the U.S. economy took a nosedive in 2008, I had to close the physical office. And I was definitely belly aching about this. And then I realized, wow, this is an opportunity to set up a remote infrastructure. And once I was able to set up a remote infrastructure, now I can have people from all over the world being a part of our business as far as contract employees that can participate in our remote infrastructure. So now we have our phones can ring in France. So it was a blessing in disguise. So I feel like if you're able to reframe a challenge, that's really important to success.
I think that is one of the best skill sets anyone can have on any journey, whether it's an athletic journey, a professional journey, a relationship journey, a business journey. I think being able to view the challenge, view the obstacle as an opportunity for growth will allow you to just like dominoes. You just keep going. Like every challenge you'll conquer through learning the lessons within that challenge.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, everything can build, and it's easy sometimes to want to feel defeat, but it's a great relationship skill. You're right. It's a great skill in athletics. If you look at all the Olympians, I follow women's gymnastics, and they've gone through major challenges, and the ones that are win have come out on top. So I agree there.
Wow. And yeah, the fourth insight here, I really like it.
Be authentic. And this is one that can be challenging, especially when you're doing something new, like in the computing world, when somebody said, nobody will ever want personal computers at home. Or the Wright brothers, when they first discovered flight, there were naysayers all around saying you're ridiculous. Just give this up now. This is completely ridiculous. Don't do it. You're always going to get those people who think you're absolutely crazy. And being true to yourself and honoring your truth and not listening to these people, because it's usually when people say you're crazy, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Well, for the most part, yeah. I'm just kidding. Yeah, definitely. Some people just crazy. No, absolutely. Yeah. I think it means you're going down your own path. You are living the journey or as the alchemist says, you're living your legend.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're living your legend and not letting other people or other influences steer you outside of pursuing your true dream.
Where do we get the courage to be authentic and to pursue the thing that we know we need to pursue? Because you could have easily have kept doing that job and found some sort of meaning in the computer science job that you had, and maybe gotten some seniority and started doing projects that you enjoyed and had more freedom at work. But to actually leave and do the thing that you want to do, what advice do you? There's a ton of guys right now, and women, as mostly a male audience, but who how do I get the courage to sail down my own path?
That's a good question. So courage can come from multiple sources. From my perspective, it can come from adversity, because I feel that if you're unhappy at your job and you go in with this kind of cloud of depression, you're more likely to attract adversity, or your depression's more likely to influence, let's say, your relationships or other aspects of your life that are important to you. So let's say you go home to your girlfriend and you hate your job, you're depressed. That's going to negatively affect your relationship. So what I found is sometimes, again, the universe can co-conspire to create a situation where it's so bad you have to leave. That's one way. Mm-hmm. You don't even need courage. It's just it's gotten so bad. You've hit rock bottom.
I was in a similar place. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens to drug addicts and alcoholics sometimes, is they hit that rock bottom moment where their life is just, they have to change because they're almost forced to. That's what I did. So that was where I found my courage at that point. You don't really need much courage. You're just almost, what's my alternative? There is no alternative. I have to do this. Probably a more positive way to find courage, which I do now, is to feel how much I love what I do, or how much I love what my goal is. So, for example, the Olympians, they love the sport. Their vision is so strong that they're going to do anything it takes to make that happen. And that's a more positive fuel source. I actually recommend that, is to tap into how much you love what your vision is and let that be your fuel source. Much more positive.
Yeah, definitely.
But I love adversity. Yeah, I love adversity. So those are my two fuel sources, but now it's more of tapping into my love.
Tapping into the love and letting that fuel the vision for what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think are some common mistakes that most people make when they are about to do something that they really want to do?
I think the most common one is to operate from the perspective that just because you took that leap of faith and went onto your path, that's when you can stop working, or that's when you feel like things are now supposed to come to you. I think there's kind of a belief at least in the spiritual communities of popular culture, saying, well, you took a leap of faith, you got onto your right path, now everything's just going to show up on your doorstep. That's a myth from my perspective, that you can't stop there. Now is when the real work comes. Also thinking that it may be easy. Actually, I think doing what you don't love is actually easier because you're not that invested.
Right.
So,
yeah. You don't identify with it. Right.
Yeah. Thinking that somehow now it's going to be super easy, or that you may be instantly famous or instantly wealthy, or that there's an instant gratification type of thing. There is no instant gratification from my perspective. It's still.
Absolutely. I think that is huge, that you are more connected to what you do like. And so because of that, if you get negative responses, or for example, you put out a blog post and people don't like it, or you do a video and you see people thumbs downing your video, like who would do that?
Yeah.
Like, why? What did I do? Like, this is my passion. You get identify with that person's negative action towards you, and you feel deeply wounded or hurt from that. And it could really, if you don't get the results you want, you could feel like you are the failure because it's your thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that you may get some negative responses and have to find that energy to go forward, because it's about believing in your vision. I mean, every entrepreneur has gotten their share of negative responses. I remember with Starbucks, the whole dive into instant coffee, their version of instant coffee. At first, it got some negativity, but the CEO believed in it and said, nope, this is what we're doing. And it's just really clinging to your vision, really, no matter what people say.
Yeah, I think it's a common mistake, absolutely, because you have already taken the big leap, like that was the hard part, but really that is the beginning of a series of hard parts that are inevitably going to come, and that the idea of quitting is really just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you're going to get feeling like you need to move mountains to stay in business. A normal job, a job that you don't like, it's not that same feeling of doing the impossible to stay going. It's like, all right, I've shown up for work, I get my work done, go home. It's more mundane, which means I think there's less ups and downs. It's just kind of this kind of boring, long, gray path. Whereas I feel like doing business for yourself is very dynamic, lots of moving parts, and lots of places where you feel like I need to do the impossible to stay in business. Requires more innovation, and don't let that deter you.
Absolutely. What have been some practical steps that you do to stay? I'm trying to talk about like the work and personal life balance. When you start something, it's extremely hard. We're talking about these challenges. You're having to view the challenges, for growth. There's a lot of new things on the horizon here. How do you balance the personal life, or do you even have one? Not currently now. I hope that but I'm talking about during that state of the heavy transition.
One of the things I feel like is really important no matter what, because I feel like you're going to always have periods of time where you're working intensely. Even in a more established company, sometimes something happens, or you get a new exciting big project, or you want to write a book, or you do some intense thing no matter what, and you're going to want to spend all your time doing that. And no matter what, I feel like there's a certain amount of capacity before you burn out, even though your level may be higher as an entrepreneur. But don't neglect your fitness is one of the most important parts. Save time to go to the gym and do your workout. And because if you start neglecting your fitness, actually what I've learned is your energy level actually starts to go down, not up. you would think not going to the gym or not working out actually would increase your energy, like you'd have more energy, but I've noticed the exact opposite. If I'm just sitting around all day working and I don't take care of myself, my energy actually goes down. So never feel like you need to sacrifice your health, well-being, fitness, or for your company, because you won't be able to do it.
Like you could get more done with that hour rather than going to the gym for an hour. So you're like, oh, I can get an hour's more work in, so I'm going to skip this, and then I'll get to it later, but maybe that doesn't happen. And then over time it builds up. You develop a habit where you're okay with sacrificing your health in order to get more quote unquote done. But what you're saying is in reality that you have less energy throughout the day.
That's what I've noticed when I felt like, oh, I can skip my workout, or I don't have to eat right, or I'll have that triple espresso situation. My energy levels actually plummet and I'm not able to think as clearly. And as entrepreneurs and innovators, what it really requires is tapping into your ability to innovate. And you really can't do that on a low energy level. And sometimes you get your best ideas when you're not working. So for example, I have a boyfriend. Sometimes I get great ideas just talking with my boyfriend because he has such a different perspective from where I come from. And so it's really fun to hear, and sometimes funny to hear his perspective on my business. And I love it. So allowing yourself to continue to hang out with your friends and have a social life, and it can make you more well-rounded. And then when you do work, you're more focused and more able to innovate and accomplish. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been periods on this journey where I've been, especially in the beginning, where I was like a vampire in a cave, just working, like not really leaving the apartment or the office. And when I go out socially, I feel like I don't know how to speak. I'm like, and it has huge effects on your life. If that's, you're sacrificing your own life to achieve some goal, I think that the effects need to change and have time for personal life. That did bring up an interesting kind of question for myself here around the work that you do being very interesting. I respect the work you're doing at Quantum Touch. How has that been dating and finding men who are into that or who understand that, or do they understand that?
I personally haven't made it a requirement to only date men that are into energy healing.
Right.
That's been me. Some people would prefer that, but I actually enjoy the different perspectives. So I find like I enjoy opposites actually, which makes it really fun for me. Now that's just me personally. So I'm actually okay as long as we have a great time together. And as long as we enjoy each other's company, and as long as we have fun, and as long as there's chemistry and it's flowing, they don't really necessarily need to believe in what I do. And I've found that some men who may be into the energy healing and things like that aren't really the best match. So it's just a journey for me. It's fun.
At first, were you trying to?
At first, I was trying to, and I realized that it may be too limiting, and I've been enjoying opening that up and saying, wow, like, my current boyfriend's not really into it, but he's a real sweet man. I mean, he's just really beautiful heart. So in a way, I feel like he is kind of into it because he has such an open heart and he's such a generous person. And to me, that's more important than being 100% aligned with your mindset, because you're always going to have people that are different than you around you.
Right.
And I like to enjoy the difference.
Yeah, interesting. I too used to think I wanted to find a woman who was doing exactly what I was doing, but for women. I have knowledge for men. I was like, oh, if I find this girl, she's like entrepreneur, she's like a blogger, writer, she's like a coach, that it would be the perfect match, because that's just where I was at. And I actually found women who were doing that. And I found that it wasn't actually what I made it all out to be. And that having what you said, we're just more open to anything, is, in my opinion, like any woman who is just doing something that she's excited about. I don't care what it is. She could be a dancer, a runner. She could be into yoga or teaching. She could be into computer science. But if she really loves it, then that's what I like, is just people who are lit about what they do. I don't care what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And same goes for friends too, just men in general.
Mm-hmm. I think it's good to open up your world and just like traveling around the world, traveling to different cultures, open up your world, be open to differing experiences, different languages even. I find that what makes it really interesting and fun.
Have you found that if you pursued something so much, like the community around what you do, or maybe another niche around what you do, that community can then become very closed-minded, and or you stop seeing the other people's perspectives?
I think I personally, in the past, have been very closed-minded to, all right, if people don't see things from an energy perspective, maybe I don't want to hang out with them, or been a little more closed off. And I think sometimes the people in these fields can kind of close up their social circle a little bit. And I feel like I've personally gained more from being more open to all different walks of life, and how can we find common ground and have fun together. For me, that's been really exciting, and it makes it fun. I mean, I think, for example, it's fun to be with people who are different from you, because you learn from that. And for me, that's really fun. So I feel like it's really important to open that up a little bit.
Yeah, I think this applies just to everyone in general, and whether or not you're trying to pursue something you're passionate about, but just in general, open up your world to new people, new thoughts, and new ideas. I know for sure that I would not be where I am today if I didn't open myself up to the idea that I could be an entrepreneur, or that I could be in good shape, or just being around other people showed me that that's also a possibility for myself too.
Yeah, there's always something beautiful to learn from everyone. Everyone has something amazing.
I like that. And so, Jennifer, let's dive into the knowledge round. Just going to ask you a few more rapid fire questions here. So shorter responses in the knowledge round. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So you might be wondering, why would I ever invest in a coach? I've never done anything like that before. Well, it's going to shorten your learning curve and save you the time that it would take to achieve your goal. You can avoid making mistakes that you would otherwise make. You'll get more results because everything will be tailored to your specific needs and challenges. The coach will hold you accountable so you can't procrastinate, so you can't be lazy, so you can't say, I didn't have the time. You'll be challenged and pushed harder than you've ever been pushed. You'll have conversations so powerful that you'll feel more energized, alive, and confident and certain about the goals that you have in front of you and where you want to go. Most importantly, where you want to be. You'll go farther than you've ever gone before when you have a coach. If you want to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program, go to kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program. You have got to understand that every successful person in the world invests in coaching to go from good to great. And if you're already a high achiever, then how much more could you achieve if you had a high performance men's coach at your side to push you even further? Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply for our high performance men's coaching program. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling really lost or unsure about what they should do?
Find something in life that you love, no matter how small.
And what would you say is holding, in your experience, most men back from becoming their strongest self?
Fear and wanting a guarantee of safety and security.
I like it. Very simple. And obviously, your book here is Love Incorporated, the business of doing what you love. And so for the listeners, you can check that out on Amazon. But I'm interested in yourself. Like, what have been 2 or 3 influential books that have helped you on your journey?
That's a great question. The one that I love is Jim Camp, the book called No. It's a really great book. It's all about negotiation. And there's another one by Marcus Rothkrantz. It's called The Prosperity Secret. It's a wonderful book working with health, prosperity mindset. I love that book. And let's see, there's just so many great ones. I'm trying to narrow it down.
What have you, anything lately?
Yeah.
What comes to mind?
Another one that I've been reading lately is called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah. I've been Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah. I love that book.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
It's funny.
Great books. And the next one here is more of a scenario for yourself. So, Jennifer, if you had 60 seconds with your 25-year-old self, if you can envision where she's at personally, professionally, financially, relationships, and you could speak with her for 60 seconds, what would you tell her to do? What would you tell her not to do?
I would tell her to hold on to our authentic self and not allow others, like men especially, or other naysayers, other people with judgments, to hold her back. And be secure in yourself. And I know that trying to pursue people that were unavailable, like pursuing men who were unavailable, or putting my energy into areas of my life that weren't in alignment with my greatest good, is probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made. So I would tell my 20-year-old self to just really focus on things that are flowing, that are in alignment, and trusting myself and not operating based on fear.
I like that. And what was it about the men? You said specifically men, the naysayers are not believing in me or holding me back. What was it there, just so that the men listening can, maybe they're in a relationship and maybe they're doing some of that, or maybe it's why they're struggling in relationships. I'm not sure.
I think one of the biggest mistakes I made in my 20s, I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but I will, is that I would pursue unavailable men all the time. That book, He's Just Not That Into You, is like the story of my life, my younger life. I would spend a lot of energy looking at the phone. Maybe it'll ring, maybe it won't. I just put a lot of energy into that. And I realized that really, if somebody's not interested, or it's not really flowing, or it's not the right one, it's in the highest good to let that go, really, to let a situation go that's not working, or where you're not treated well. And I think that also applies to men. If their partner's not treating them well, or the relationship's not working, and you've done everything you can, to not let that interfere with your self-worth.
Yeah, and not identify with that, I think, too, where I'm not wanted now is the thought.
Yeah, and I don't know women deal with this a lot, I think, where they feel that men reject them because they don't look pretty enough or not attractive enough, because it's so image-based in our culture. And it's really a waste of time to tell yourself that negative self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for men that is a topic on their mind, but it might be around also that I'm not successful enough, or I'm not man enough, like strong enough, which I think would be relative to that point around like the image.
Mm-hmm. I just think the right partner loves you for who you are, not what you do or how necessarily ripped your abs are, Wait,
the abs, girls, that's not like a deal breaker for a girl. I've been working out every day because I thought a girl would see Instagram photos of my abs. Okay. Okay. This is good.
Yeah. I think women, especially, despite what happens in the media, I think that women really are looking for a man of integrity, really. And they don't have to have ripped abs or all of that. It's mostly about how they treat her or how they treat me, and their level of integrity in their life. I mean, that's probably one of the most important things to me is this a man of integrity? To me, that's like the most manly trait is their integrity.
And what would that look like? A man of integrity? His word or his
word,
thoughts? Like what?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel too? Also, as a woman, what's the energy of integrity do to you?
It makes me want him. Really, I mean, that's ultimately the truth. Is that it's hot when a man does what he says he'll do, when he's on fire with his vision. I mean, what's more attractive than a person who's on fire? When a man's open-hearted and cares about others and shows compassion. I mean, if you've seen those photos of a man who's rescued a kitten, I mean, we fall for that because it shows like a man who has compassion and love. And ultimately, I think what it really boils down to is the love in a man's heart that attracts women. And to me, that feels safe and of high integrity And I think it's at least what I want, but I think a lot of women just really, they want the love. They want to feel the love.
I think a key word in there was it makes me feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for me and for a lot of women, when you finally feel safe around a man is when you finally open up. And being in integrity helps create that safety. And that's what commitment is too. It's to create a realm of safety in your relationship.
Yeah. Powerful knowledge around here. And I think there's a lot of information here that can really help men become stronger men. This has been great. And so, Jennifer, you're out there in Maui living it up. What's exciting you today? What's getting you out of bed in the morning now?
Today, actually, I'm really excited about a new project that we're doing. We are doing a clinical study in quantum touch in energy medicine. And I'm really excited about that because it's a way for us to get more into the Western medical system. And I love that idea because I'd love to bring it to more people and empower people to take ownership of their own health. And I feel like that we can complement Western medicine. And so some clinical studies, and I'm just really excited about that.
I like it.
Fun.
Yeah. That's great. Really making it more available and less of a niche type of pursuit.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to ground it and make it more accessible to people, make energy medicine something that people understand and use, because it's non-invasive, which is awesome. You're not taking a drug. You don't have someone cutting you open. And it also has surprising results. I mean, I've seen all kinds of things that have been very miraculous. And yet it's not really widely used, I think, because people don't understand it yet or don't understand the results or need some proof or just some examples of how it works. So that's my new direction. I love it.
I'm really excited to see that come into play. And for all the listeners here, you can follow up with Jennifer with her work at Quantum Touch, simply quantumtouch.com. If you have trouble spelling quantum like I first did, you can Google it and it pops right up. And you can also go to Amazon and check out Love Incorporated. Just simply Google Love Incorporated or Jennifer Noel Taylor and it all pops right up. Jennifer, this has been a great episode. Thank you for your story and being vulnerable here on the Knowledge for Men podcast.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I've loved being on the show.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of knowledgeformen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.